All right, good morning. Liberty North, AP and dual credit psychology, virtual Wednesday, March 3rd. And we're going to finish Unit 9. I'm going to go over AP Learning Targets 9 through 16. Okay, so again, learning targets are on Canvas. You also hopefully took a picture of them when they're on your desks. Okay. All right, but we're going to go through 9 through 16, and there's a lot of repetition here, especially with names and some information. So some of your big theorists like Piaget and Kohlberg and Erikson, which we've talked about so far, are being repeated again. So again, make sure you know those. So again, the big theories are also on Canvas under the module. So Piaget's got an assignment on his own theory, Erikson, and then Kohlberg. Okay. All right, so we're going to go start with learning target number 9. So again, we've done 1 through 8 last Wednesday, so you can see that video on YouTube. All right, number 9 is identify the contributions of major researchers in the areas of cognitive development in childhood. Okay, so both of these names we've already talked about. So Piaget and Vygotsky, okay, are the big names here with cognitive development. And again, we've gone over Piaget's theory. Watch the videos. That information's on Canvas under his page. But again, he is kind of the second most influential psychologist of all time, voted by the APA. His cognitive development theory is very sound. It's still used today. All right. So the idea that our thinking changes as our brain biologically develops and grows over time. Vygotsky adds kind of the language component to it. And believes that the brain and language develop together. So as your language develops and grows, so does your brain cognitively. So those two are linked, okay? But you have both those names already. We did those on the last video, okay? All right, AP Learning Target number 10, discuss maturational challenges in adolescence, including related family conflicts, okay? So again, maturation means biological growth, pre-programmed growth, okay? So these are, so development is just any change over time. Maturation are specifically the biological pre-programmed ones that happen in generally critical periods, okay? So that's what we're looking at here. All right, so again, so we get into, if we agree with Erikson's theory, then obviously identity and intimacy are kind of like biological conflicts that we need to resolve, especially at your age group. So being able to develop that solid identity, to be able to socialize, right, and create lasting and healthy relationships. Family and peers obviously influence maturational challenges and changes that we have, okay? Peers are a big influence on you now, as well as your family. But that environmental component, again, can interact and affect our biological growth. Then obviously you have your brain development cognitively and physically, biologically. And then one of the biggest things are hormones. Okay, so at your age group and during adolescence, your body goes through, I think, the most physical change that it ever does. So that's kind of the big brain development, physical development. Actually, your brain develops a little bit more in huge ways when you're a child. And then your body, hormones and all those changes, which you guys all feel and experience just about every day. You know, unfortunately, those are the biggest changes physically in your body now. It just makes things difficult as you kind of have this war of hormones, you know, growing. Okay, so big changes here. Okay, and you know, any of those could have a huge maturational challenge or influence on your growth. Okay, all right. Number 11 is characterize the development of decisions related to intimacy as people mature. So again, just remember repeating here. Okay, so they're talking about level 5 and 6 of Erikson. Okay, so first we have identity versus role confusion. So the idea is to set a solid identity, find out who you are, develop that self-concept and self-efficacy. And then that's going to help you create lasting and healthy relationships because you're going to be more socialized. Okay, you're going to be more socially developed, more mature in those areas, so you'll be able to create lasting, healthy relationships. Now, again, Erikson All right. And going back to number 10, that's just hard at this age. Again, middle school and high school relationships are very turbulent. It can be very rough, full of a lot of highs and lows, a lot of conflict. Again, as you try to navigate that with your brain developing, your hormones developing, okay, family, peers, just trying to navigate all of that. So you have several environmental factors and nature factors that just make it difficult, make it harder. Okay, so it's a pretty rough area, which is why Erickson said that generally this starts to happen a little bit more in college, and so does this a little bit, but I think you get a good start on that in high school. This is just tough, as you guys have experienced, so it's hard. Okay. All right, AP learning target number 12, predict the physical and cognitive changes that emerge through the lifespan, including steps that could be taken to maximize function. Okay, so basically here, the focus is on physical and cognitive development, okay, which we have really discussed this very well. This one is kind of ebb and flowed, and I've kind of weaved it into everything that we have talked about. But there's some definite good information here in the book if you want to read that. Okay, but basically just know again, again, the brain isn't finished developing until age 25. So obviously your thinking is going to keep developing there. Your body's continually to develop, even, after age 25. So I think it shifts, but again, your physical peak is really, 25 to like 30, mid 30s, I think, or low 30s. So, you're physically going to continue to grow, mature. And we've talked about that, developing motor ability still, your hormones are adjusting here. So your whole body is still, adjusting and growing, which just makes things tough. And you guys have all experienced that. Okay. So now what you can do to help it is, number one, understand it and understand what's going on. And then obviously, keep yourself healthy, exercise, use your body and your physical movements as you're developing. And same thing here, use your mind, okay? Use your brain and your thinking and keep it developing. And then again, after age 40, you kind of go to start a slow decline, okay, into late adulthood. So, as these things begin to decline, keep using them as much as possible. Keep fighting through that. Just keep your body, keep everything active. Don't let it become stagnant, which again is a problem that our culture is having. Okay. All right. AP learning target number 13, identify the contributions of key researchers in the area of adult and aging. And that's going to be Erickson's. Okay. What they're referring to there. Again, Erickson again had the coins through adolescence, which were identity and role confusion. And then on adulthood, the last conflict is integrity versus despair. Okay, so that's stage 8 there. Okay. All right. So let's get into some moral development now. Okay, so I'm going to pull you over here, and we will reinforce this theory in class on Thursday and Friday. Okay, and as we kind of finish up the unit and then finish up our lab. All right, so we have, so what we have is we have Kohlberg's theory. So learning target 14 says, identify the contributions of major researchers in the areas of moral development. Okay, so that's Lawrence Kohlberg and Carol Gilligan. All right, I know I've given you Kohlberg. He's already on your list. I don't know if I gave you Gilligan. I went and looked back. I don't think I did. I think I might have left her off inadvertently. Okay, both of them are the big names in moral development. Okay, moral reasoning. So again, it's important to know that moral development is a part of cognitive development. And then actually Piaget and Kohlberg worked closely together. So again, under Piaget, that fourth stage is formal operations. And that's when you start to develop your moral reasoning. Okay. And then Carol Gilligan is also a big one because she's actually the first one that figured out that, again, males and females have different processes of developing morals. Now it's the same order, but generally girls are going to kind of develop morals a little bit faster. Okay, so it's easier for their brains to develop and kind of work through all the issues that are involved in moral reasoning. The males are a little bit farther behind there. So she did extensive study and research and kind of demonstrated that Girls kind of have a better foundation for moral reasoning, and they have it earlier, and they often reflect and develop kind of the components of moral reasoning faster than the boys do, okay? Again, they still go through it in the same order, but the girls just do it faster, okay? All right, AP Learning Target 15, compare and contrast models of moral development, okay? So that is Kohlberg's theory of moral development, which is kind of the iconic theory, most prescribed to theory. Kohlberg believed we had 6 stages and 3 levels of moral reasoning, okay? And it went from pre-conventional, which is stages 1 to 2, to conventional, and then post-conventional, okay? Now, the interesting thing about Kohlberg's theory is he didn't put any ages on it, because he said you can have adults that reason at pre-conventional level, and you can have children who reason at post-conventional level, which this would be the highest level here, okay? So it really wasn't determined by age, it was determined by your moral reasoning, the development of your thinking processes there, okay? And basically what it is, and I'll just summarize it very generally, basically the more people you can consider in a moral decision or a moral reason, the higher you kind of move up, okay? So pre-conventional level is pretty much where you morally reason just based on yourself, okay? Things that are gonna affect you, okay? All right, so, and then here, you kind of move up to where moral decisions, how are they going to influence you, but also your circle of influence. So, you know, that's going to be people that are close to you, like your family. So when you make a moral decision, understanding that it doesn't just impact me, it impacts the people that are close to me, okay? And then here is when I make moral reasons and moral decisions on kind of a universal scale. So I not only consider how they impact me and the people close to me, but how they would impact, you know, my work community, my college community, my state, my country, you know, so on and so forth. Okay. So, and we're going to do some we'll do a famous moral dilemma. So what Kohlberg did is he developed dilemmas, which are, and we've had some of these in the book of questions activity that we've done, but they're basically questions or situations or scenarios in which there doesn't appear to be a good choice. So you have to make one. And then what Kohlberg did is he had people write down the why they believed that that was the best decision. And then through collecting all of that data, and he did it with adults, children, you know, all ages, he created his 3 levels, okay? So give people a dilemma, have them answer it, and then have them specify why they think it was moral or not. And then was their answers because of how it impacted them or the main people in the story, how it impacted the main people in the story plus the people close to them, and then universally, okay? So people who have higher moral development consider basically more people in their decisions. It's not just centered around them or the people close to them. It's considered around other people. So, you know, just a real quick example might be, you know, do decisions at North impact just you? So do you consider and look at them as, well, how do they impact me? How do they impact my friends, my teams? And then how do they impact the entire school? Okay, all students, 9 through 12, okay? All right. Okay, learning target number 16, describe how sex and gender influence socialization and other aspects of development, okay? All right, so basically number 1, the learning target helps you understand that, but sex and gender do impact socialization and do impact development, okay? And even if we go up here just to today, to the example, you know, Kara Gilligan said that males and females, while they maturate with moral reasoning, same order, you know, they just generally have different processes and it happens faster with girls, okay? So the big thing to take away here is that sex and gender drastically impact socialization and development and changes over time, okay? Again, you have differences in the hormone changes, the brain development, brains are different, right? Okay, identity, intimacy looks different for both, you know, your family, your peers. So I think the thing here is sex and gender influences the process and the timing of cognitive, moral, physical, and social development, okay? But maturation order is still the same. So the biological programming is still the same. The critical periods are still the same, but you can still go through it at different times and in different processes, okay? So, you know, gender is going to be one of those biological things, or sex would be more biological, gender would be environmental, okay? So, you know, that's kind of, just know that. So I think the learning target is pretty much, the answer is just in the question. But again, describe how sex and gender influence socialization and other aspects of development. So I just hope that you can kind of figure that out. So biologically and with gender. So again, whatever sex you are, whatever gender you prescribe to, you're going to have biological and environmental influences that affect these areas of development. Okay. Now, while the order is the same, it's going to be different. Okay. Different process and different timing. Okay. So in that way, I think culture is kind of the big one there too. How does culture impact socialization and development? Which again, you know, our culture labels what it means to be this, the different options here, different options here. Even if you throw in ethnic groups in there, you know, to be a football player, to be a basketball player. I mean, there's just so many labels that we use that are kind of identified in our culture, and those all can have impacts on development. Okay. All right. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be on Zoom for today as well. And if you have any questions, again, as I said yesterday, remember that we're getting pretty close now once we hit spring break, especially if we stay in the blended learning model. You know, your face-to-face class times are getting pretty low, seniors, so around 16 or so. So make sure that you're getting caught up, get your Unit 9 define and apply done, catch up on your code words. Make sure you're working on your journal critique, okay? And then I will see you Thursday and Friday. Remember, Zoom is open if you need anything.